Thank you. 6:01.
Yeah. That's that. You'll have to resume recording. All right. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Call the meeting to order, just a touch late. Are there additions or deletions to the agenda?
I was thinking if we had time, I could do like a kind of a summary of how the forum went and topics that come up.
Yeah.
I didn't prepare anything so substantial, but if we put it at the end and we have time, I can do it.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. What about West Danby Cemetery?
Oh,
That's.
Is that on there?
it's not on there.
I mean, do
I'll
we
go
need
with
to
it.
talk
Does it need to
about
be?
it? Well, we should, I don't, well, yeah, it's.
If you'd like to, we can talk about it.
It's, if we're headed in that direction,
Well, that's true.
that's an issue.
Come in, sit down. We like company.
Public sign-in sheet and an agenda over there.
He may be in the wrong building. Maybe he meant to go to.
Be food tray.
Yeah.
No, he looks kind of nice.
Anything else that we can have?
The only other thing, well, in deciding to not divulge names of folks who get the CDBG grant
Mhm.
stuff from home improvements, mainly because it's based on financial situations.
Yeah.
Is that not true also of the youth grant fund?
Um,
I'm just wondering whether we
well-
should be,
well,
those names are on there.
yes, it's true.
So I don't know, that was just a question. We might want to talk about, or not.
Blake, sorry to interrupt. I think there's a problem with the Zoom link. The board just got an email from a resident who's trying to enter, and I actually clicked on the link and I'm getting an error too, but
Okay.
hopefully other people are able to do it.
Well, I mean, I'd use the join meeting below.
Join meeting below this, and I'll put it in the email to the resident.
So it's the way where it says
This one?
join that one, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you know what? It is a little different than the URL that's at the top of the agenda. It's missing a question mark or something like that. Maybe for some people. Okay, sorry to interrupt. I'll respond to it.
Mhm. I didn't try that one, so I didn't notice the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, the URL at the top of the agenda is not a valid URL.
It's just missing a question mark.
Mhm. Oh, well. Yeah. That's something we could quickly fix.
Good point, that is not right now.
Mhm.
Yes, take a look at it and figure out why.
Yeah, must be, because this is an ongoing reuse thing. It worked last time, right? Something happened.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for the agenda? Good. Okay, privilege of the floor. Is anyone who'd like to address the board? Topic of their choice. Julie,
Well, I was gonna say person here.
well, you ready to begin?
Hi. Yes, oh, so you're, I was just. about that, a lot of the-
If you'd like to address the board, I'm gonna let Julie go first, but then you'd be happy to. She had her hand right up, so.
Hearing aids.
Yeah.
So Julie, sure, hi.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm up here again because July 9th, I received an email from sitting town board member Mark Prus chastising me and a small group of my excellent neighbors for exercising our rights to expect the laws of this town to be upheld and enforced regarding the illegal and escalating nuisance activities of a business whose owner appears to believe he's above the law. I strongly object to those accusations and insinuations contained in that email. Mark refers to our, quote, absolute insistence to resist everyone's good-natured attempts to resolve this more peacefully, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, I seriously hope everyone on this thread can take a few moments to reflect on the impact you are having on the larger Danby community and whether you're happy with that, end quote. Despite Mark acknowledging that the town shirked its duty and that Steve was wrong, in your words, you still assert that we're the problem. You say, quote, the rest of the town is being unfairly impacted by your decision and the town must represent their needs as well. So our decision, you mean our expectation that zoning laws are upheld that prevent illegal and nuisance use of an ag zoned property? We're unfairly impacting the rest of the town? And you talk about their needs, you need to represent their needs. Do you mean demands that have nothing to do with rights or laws and only have to do with entitlement and, dare I say, selfishness? Demands voiced by a group that you refer to as the rest of the town, which somehow seems to even include people from places like Elmira in an entirely different county. Because of that, we're watching you treat other people's recreational wants as equal to our legal rights. You lament that we're a few months into this season where Danby residents and others could have been enjoying community gatherings outdoors, supporting a local business, but they are not. And residents are disappointed and frustrated with that. So that's your job to fix, and it's our fault. And there's no other options for creating community in this town except attending illegal concerts at South Hill Cider. I would like to point out that there are also Danby residents, myself included, who are really enormously enjoying the return of peace and quiet to our rural neighborhood, not to mention the reduction in impaired drivers like the ones that nearly hit my son a couple of years ago as he walked home from work at South Hill Cider after cooking their food. You mentioned there's a pretty large margin for an acceptable volume and timing of music that Steve could host for the community. These are your words, Mark, that would not negatively affect the neighbors. It's not up to you to decide what would negatively affect us, but I would like to point out that Sealand is not hosting music for the community. That's what the Danby Community Council, now Danby Community and Park, does. We host community music for free, professional musicians repeatedly throughout the year, as I said at the last meeting. He's not doing that for the community. He's doing it to make money. He's a business. Recapping, you accuse us falsely of resisting everyone's good nature's attempt to resolve this more peacefully. You accuse us of threatening and scaring Steve into coming to the negotiating table. I strongly object to this accusation in particular. None of us threatened Steve Sealand. If he's scared, it's not on us. If he's scared of anything, it's probably of losing money. But that's not my problem. And don't accuse us of threatening him because we didn't. Mark, I wonder if you wrote a letter to Steve asking him why he refused everyone's good nature's attempt to resolve this peacefully, repeatedly and continuously since 2021, rather than sowing division and toxicity and dragging the entire town and beyond through this hell. We're blamed for resistance when offers to mitigate and settle were ignored and refused by him from 2021 right through the end of 2025, including the settlement offer that's been sitting on the table since last November, an offer that would have allowed him to have live music all winter long and into the summer. Other solutions have been proposed and all have been rejected by him. This is not a matter for mediation and touchy-feely negotiations. This is a legal issue and the town needs to do its job enforcing the laws, and Steve Sealand needs to abide by them just like the rest of us. He can open an events venue somewhere where it's allowed. He's not a victim. He applied for permission to build a cidery with a small tasting room, not run an events venue on land where it isn't allowed. I've lived in Danby for 20 years. For the last 18 of those years, I have worked continuously volunteering in multiple organizations to better the life of my fellow Danby residents. I've offered workshops, flower workshops, honey workshops, seed starting workshops. I've busted my butt in Dotson Park since 2009 trying to make it a better place. Yes, there's a lot of room for improvement. I volunteer in the fire department. I volunteer in the community council. I'm not saying this to pat my own back. I'm saying this, I do this as a service to the community. We put on tons of concerts. We put on lots of events so this community building bullshit has got to stop. There's a ton of community building happening in this town. It doesn't revolve around South Hill Cider. And I'm kind of insulted that you're saying that I'm having a tangibly negative impact on my community by fighting for my rights, which benefit other people too. I'm sick of that. Much more concerning than any insult to myself, though, or even your misdirected blame of the small group of people who are forced to take legal action to seek peace in our rural neighborhood, is what your email reveals. It reveals your apparent bias and a very concerning susceptibility to be blind or indifferent to facts and to appear to succumb to the tyranny of the mob and pressure and manipulation from a single business owner. At the very least, you appear to place the demands of the mob on equal footing with the legitimate rights of citizens to have the laws upheld. Once more, for the record, I object to the enormous effort being made to try to support one specific business by crafting a new law full of loopholes that will enable that business to resume their illegal activity. That business, and more specifically its owner, Steve Sealand, is the problem, not us. He is the one who should be reflecting on what damage his unwillingness to negotiate and mitigate until legal action was threatened has caused to the people of this town. This proposed law will do nothing to resolve this issue and will likely just exacerbate the problem. Thank you for your time.
Okay, sir?
Will they be able to hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Find it within,
microphone's
microphone's here.
All right, because I'm struggling with hearing. Ivan Newell, I live over the hill, not in Danby, over the hill. I was here at the last meeting. And I left a couple things out that I wanted to say briefly.
I would point out, although Julie ran over, the typically privilege of the floor is a 3-minute opportunity to address the board.
Yes, that was way over 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So I will try to respect that.
Mhm.
Just looking at a plethora of findings in there, it seems to me two things I want to say really. The first is that simplicity, reading through those pages of times and amounts of services, etc. It seems to me like simplicity is always the best thing. That being said, you take a business owner, whether it's Steve or Karthik from,
Mhm.
Danby Food and Drink, or a private person who wants it, but particularly with businesses, set out the guidelines. They agree when they have their business that they will follow the guidelines. The need to come back time after time for permits seems kind of crazy. If somebody's holding an event, let it be simple. These are the guidelines. They agree, they get their permit for the season. If there are exceptionally large events, which, like Grassroots just happened, okay? So if he has had loud bands there before, maybe you want to limit those larger events. But if you have to start getting permits every time Richie Starnes and his friends play music inside or outside on the porch, that seems really ludicrous. It's more paperwork, it's more hassle for everybody, okay? So simplicity is the main thing. The decibel thing, there was more than 55 decibels. There were several people who had meters here. In this room, there was more than 55 decibels of sound. When we go to yoga classes at South Hill Cider and we're in the middle of the blissful, peaceful end of Shavasana and the trucks come flying by at 100 decibels, downshifting, who's going to control that noise? My understanding of sound ordinances in other townships or whatever, there's a time, a reasonable time, whether it's 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, there's a time. It's not somebody standing there with a meter by the side of the road waiting to set a lawsuit because they've documented you're at 0.8 decibels instead of 0.7. That's a ridiculous waste of everybody's time. Pick an actual time that's reasonable, 9 o'clock or whatever. Steve I believe that he is cooperative and wants to see some reasonable guidelines in place. But make them reasonable. You can't control everything out there in the world. So if it's 9 p.m., he's been actually, those of us who are older, okay, appreciate the fact that some of these events can actually be earlier. I think he was holding things 5:30 to 8:30 or whatever it happens to be. You cannot control everything, okay? And micromanaging and trying to predict every circumstance is asking for trouble, in my opinion, trouble and time and resources. That's the first thing I have to say. The second thing,
You're
reflects what I
running
was
over
saying.
3 minutes already.
Yes, well, I'll just make this point, okay? This man is a gift to this community. I don't mean Danby, I mean Ithaca. He is not only educating people, the children, showing people how things are grown. He puts things online. He is not only cultivating products and things, he's cultivating musicians. He is nourishing the growing musicians in this community, literally with food that he feeds them when they're doing their performances afterwards or whatever. But just providing a space and opportunity to nourish and grow the music in this community, okay? He is a gift. He is a generous man and a reasonable man. And I don't really know all the ins and outs of who this is not working for, but a general noise ordinance that says after X amount of time, you can't have whatever. I'm sure if he, you know, he's probably, well, I've never asked him this, but people do things. They build walls of hay bales to direct the sound out one way or another, but just make simple, reasonable guidelines. This man is a gift to our community. I mean, hundreds of people that support what he's doing, okay? He's not, sure, it's a business and everybody wants to make a profit in business, but he is not a scalp you kind of guy. He is supporting musicians and people in this community and creating an environment. It's about community, whether it's Danby, Brooksondale, or the greater Ithaca, you know, the greater Ithaca area and the reputation that we have as a community oriented. I mean, I've never lived in a town where if you don't recycle, you're on the outs, okay? So this is such a highly conscious community, a loving, conscious community. Keep the guidelines simple, pick a time, forget about all the decibel crap. Where did that come from anyway? Don't answer that, I know. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Point made, yes.
Yes, thank you. I mean, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. What did you say your name was?
Ivan Newell, Newell. Like I said, I've been doing real estate 40 years around here from
Okay.
places. I mean, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Steve?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. And I wasn't planning on talking, but I feel like at this point I need to defend myself because there's an individual who repeatedly appears in these meetings reading a script of lies. And so I apologize for repeating myself here, but I feel like I need to say this out loud in case there's someone at this meeting or listening to this at a later date who does not know the facts. South Hill Cider is a farm, it's a small business, and it's an employer. And we are allowed to legally market the products that we grow. We planted an orchard. I've spent more than 6 or 7 years growing thousands of apple trees, fighting diseases, being wiped out by frosts and events that are becoming increasingly apparent due to global climate change. I'm trying to be part of a local food system that could save this planet. I do things like my business. Yes, it's a business, but the mission is to connect people with each other and to the land. That's in our mission statement. Maybe I need to get that online. One example, we are able to afford a tractor finally. When we first planted the orchard, all we could afford was a 2500 Deutz tractor that we bought from the previous highway department um, person, whatever's chairperson. I can't remember his position. It wasn't from the town, but it was from someone who ran the highway department. And finally, we can afford a real tractor, so we've volunteered using it to help people establish permaculture on their property. I'm donating my time and my equipment to help this community. This person is telling lies. One, that we don't negotiate. I'm not going to call you out by name because I don't slander people. I'm documenting the slander that is happening against me using my first and last name, not only in this meeting, but online. We have tried to negotiate with these neighbors. They have denied negotiating. We have attempted to use the CDRC, the Community Dispute Resolution Council, talk to them multiple times on how to engage the neighbors, which have failed to engage with me on that level. There apparently is a neighbor or two that has previously been very opposed to me, who appears to be moving on their position a little bit. So I don't want to say that all of the neighbors are continuing to slander me and lie about me. I hope you're listening and I hope you know who I'm talking about. So the person that spoke earlier today, maybe she's speaking for the whole group and maybe she's not. So if she's not speaking for you, I would encourage you to speak up, if not in this meeting, at least through a mutual friend or acquaintance, and let me know that that person was not speaking for you, because we have been trying to negotiate. I'm not the kind of person that will only negotiate through lawyers. Okay, if that's the only way you want to negotiate, I'm sorry, I don't know if that will work, because that is a very opaque, not transparent system. And I am operating in compliance. We are working to clarify that these events that you have been attacking are lawful events. And it's pretty sad that we have to get confirmation in writing from the town or the state or what government agency that we can have free live music to provide as a community service. But that's what we're working on. And so I'm just, I'm getting tired of hearing lies, and especially when they're scripted and they're just flat out lies. That's just terrible. I'm sorry. We're trying to create a community space. Also, the other lies that we have ignored, one is that we have ignored the neighbors. We are trying to get as much input and work with the neighbors as much as possible, because as we start our music again, I really am going to be open to all the neighbor input. I know I'm going a little longer. I just have 1 or 2 comments. I'm sorry. The other lie is that we've created road hazards. Talk to the sheriff. He'll come and talk to you, and he'll fill you in on if we're a problem or not. I've talked to him in person. I hope the town board has talked to him in person. I've talked to deputies because I want to make sure we're not doing anything that's causing a problem. And they have assured me that we are not doing anything that's a problem. You might have a random something happens. You can try and put a correlation together, but that's not necessarily proof. Also, I don't think we've had anything terrible happen in the neighborhood anyway, so I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm sorry to be negative there. I just felt the need to defend myself against lies, and I'm not calling anyone out by name. I'm totally open and willing to work with my neighbors entirely, even you, the person that spoke at this meeting. If you want to try and negotiate, not even negotiate, but just let's be neighborly. Let's figure out where we overlap and cultivate a positive neighborhood. I'm still willing to do that. So thank you very much. Appreciate all your time. Bye.
Hunter, did you have your hand up?
Pat's got her hand up.
I see Pat does, but I saw Hunter look like he was raising his hand physically, but.
See it. I didn't see a hand.
Okay, I think Ted, however, is next.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to start by just putting in a very kind word for Mark, and thanking him for the idea of putting together community conversations. I think that's a great idea. I must admit, I was a little disappointed that the subject that seems to be bringing up the most discussion during town board meetings, and these conversations were supposed to be a way to talk about those things without taking up town board time, is of course South Hill Cider, the special events law. And that did not come up in discussion at all. I really would hope that there would be a way to discuss this in a less high pressure situation than within a town board meeting. Interestingly, I'd also like to thank Ivan Newell of Newfield, because he gave you another example of the demonstration that I provided to the town board some time back. He sat in front of you and talked quietly and steadily for several minutes, probably, I'm guessing, because I'm not personally present, at about 60 decibels, which is considerably less than the 65 or 70 decibels that's in the current version of the special events law. Well, I'd like the town board to imagine that someone is talking louder than that in your face for several hours in a row. And I'm not talking about Steve and South Hill Cider. I'm talking about the law that you've written. And I think that the sound limits that you have put in will be ineffective. If you pass them, the same neighbors who are complaining now will continue complaining. There's physics here. I've explained it to you, and I'll be happy to do it again. Now, thanks aside to Ivan and to Mark, I've already given you a written list of 17 problems with the proposed special events law. And I'd like to give you one more, and I believe at least some of you are aware of this, and I'm just flabbergasted that it never came up for public discussion or public notice during a meeting. And that is the fact that this special events law overrides a very important phrase in Danby's zoning law. That phrase in Danby's zoning law says more or less, if it isn't permitted, it's prohibited. Whereas the special events law, being newer, will supersede that. And it simply says that an event that events are permitted, and only events that are above certain thresholds require a permit. You have just created, you removed all restriction on commercial events everywhere in Danby. I mean, you may think these are going to be ridiculous examples, but trust me, business people are smart people. We're going to have going out of business events. We're going to have continuous flea markets. What about an auction? Oh, 3-day auction. How about a floating auction that moves around Danby? Every property in Danby can now become a commercial property. Now, I've already mentioned that the sound restrictions you have, I do not think they will be effective. The language in the law itself, well, I didn't go to college and study this as a major, but what's in there seems to conflict with every description I've seen of certain things on the web. In other words, I think they're being misapplied. I think that the law will be an ineffective response to the problems that have been described by the neighborhood. And it just happens that this is one neighborhood. There will be other neighborhoods, and an ineffective law will mean that this will happen again and again.
So Ted, you too were running past 3 minutes.
I know, I hope I'll get the same courtesy as the other folks, and I am winding down. I believe that you should start fresh. And starting fresh, I'm going to make a suggestion that the first threshold that has to be passed is not the kind of thresholds that you have now, but a threshold which beyond which a review by Danby's zoning or code, whatever officer you like, is held to determine whether you need to apply for a permit. Because the threshold is whether you need to apply, not whether you need to have one. And let's see, process begin, threshold review. I think that's just about it.
Good, thank you. Catherine.
Welcome.
Okay. I've spoken before. You know how I feel. This is a law that will affect all the people in Danby, in spite of what they think. The law, as Ted just iterated, if everyone on West King in our short little block decided to have an event, we all could, all at the same time, any night, as many nights as we want. The law is not properly done, and I think it needs to be ditched. I do not think that this is right to be passed, period. The other thing is, I am putting my hand up. I am one of those neighbors. I have tried to speak with that individual who claims that we're lying. Julie, the talk that Julie did, in spite of the fact that you're calling it scripted, is because it's a little hard to be the few and have our fingers pointed at us all the time and not have things written down and trying not to be nervous. Anyway, thank you, Julie. And that's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you, Catherine. I could have sworn Pat Woodworth had her hand up first,
She did.
although,
Yeah.
She does.
okay,
Yes, oh.
because I thought that you, to the
Was-
top left is the
was-
most recent one. but-
Four.
Oh, that's why, okay, anyway, Pat.
Thank you. I do want to make it clear that this law is not a law for the South Hill cider. It infects the entire township, not simply South Hill cider. So all that discussion on one location is not really relevant to the law. And that's what is a bigger problem. Specifying certain options that are really not clear, like saying 1 acre of land. What do you mean 1 acre of land? 1 acre of land that's open field? 1 acre of land that has a house in a field? 1 acre of land that has a house and lots of buildings? 1 acre of land that's wooded? all of those make a difference in whether it's viable or not. And parking is dangerous. There are not town roads and county roads that have a shoulder that's wide enough for a car. That means when people park, they park on the road. If they park on both sides of the road, they turn the road into a one-lane road. Our neighbor had a party years ago. There were people parked on both sides of the road, and his driveway was at the very peak of a hill. That means anybody driving up and down can't see very far and can't see what's on the other side of the hill. None of this is clear in this law, and it impacts the entire township. It is not a law that allows South Hill Cider to do or not do anything at all. I think it's a really big problem with all these open-ended options. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Hunter. He does have his hand up now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I just wanted to take a second to back up Julie's account as factual and accurate. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Anyone else who'd like to address the board? Blake?
I have a written permission for from Gary Huddle.
Oh,
Yes. Titled Special Events Law. I believe making a town law like a special events law is not in the best interest of the majority of town citizens, as was seen at the last board meeting. And I believe there was only one person that spoke for and was in favor of the proposed law. As I saw, there were approximately 80 to 100 people in attendance, either in person or online. I don't understand why the town board should get in the middle of a couple of neighbors' disagreement over music. Let the complaining neighbors hire their own attorneys and take it to county or Supreme Court and have them make the decision. The town board is spending a lot of time and taxpayer monies for attorney fees to appease less than 1% of the townspeople. I recall there are two concerns about special events. One, the party on South Danby Road a couple of years ago, which was settled through the court. The individual was issued a citation and assessed a fine by the court. Two, the other are the bands at South Hill Cider. I agree that South Hill Cider could limit the outdoor bands to maybe once a week for 2 to 3 hours, running no later than 9 p.m. through maybe May through September. The other suggestions brought up that the noise that the hemp dryers made was not. The other suggestions brought up was the noise that the hemp dryers made. This was not a special event. Logging was also mentioned because the logging went on 24/7, which is a nuisance, but should not be considered a special event. Something else that was brought up was kids running motorbikes on private property, which should not be considered a special event. It's kids having fun, maybe annoying, but not a special event. Instead of continuing to try and pass more laws that the majority of people do not want, why not try and set up a dispute resolution to get two parties together with the committee to come to a mutual solution, and everyone must agree to the terms once the committee makes a decision. If one party fails to appear, they lose the argument. But
interesting. Okay, now anyone? Moving on. Any announcements?
I don't have any announcements other than Cemetery Association will be having a special meeting on the 28th at the fire hall.
And we added to the agenda, so we'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
So we'll talk about it as well.
I don't have anything. West Danby picnics next month, but that's on the agenda too.
Is that on
Because we're collaborating with
Oh,
the
right.
association,
the,
that's
sorry,
for the picnic.
Yeah.
Okay, minutes. Skipped over correspondence. Is there any?
Oh, there is something that's not accurately reflected yet. It will be in the minutes once they are, all set and done. Correspondence has just been too much to handle right now. I'm swamped in the office right now.
yeah,
There was correspondence.
There has been correspondence, yes, FOIL request me, yeah. The meeting minutes in regards to 6/16, the version that was linked on the agenda, Zach pointed out a correction that I have updated. Can you hear me?
I can't, well, if
Oh.
you're talking fast.
Sorry, I'll make sure that I'm really close to this. So Zach pointed out a correction and version that was listed on the agenda where, there was one vote that I think you.
Oh, yeah, I pointed out too, there's a missing,
Oh,
One
Dylan,
specific
on page 2.
By, she voted yes on the resolution, that was.
So she voted
I corrected
yes.
that. And then the other one was, I had accidentally copy and pasted, a previous vote over and, changed the fact that Zach had not abstained from a vote on the SPCA thing. Pointing the, I forget what exactly it was for, but, that was corrected and is a yes as well. He also voted yes for that. I checked in the recording for those instances, so those are both.
Okay, that was on the next,
Yeah, that was.
June 16th one?
Yes.
Okay.
okay,
Well, let's, I'll move the June 2nd meeting minutes. Somebody want to second it? I'll second. Okay, the only other thing I had on that was on page 4, resolution 178. I thought I abstained on that.
what was the motion?
Yeah, approve TG Miller's request for an additional 3,000. I had written on, I mean, maybe,
I'm happy to double check my notes on that one if you wanna.
or double, or the recording or something. I had it in my notes saying that I had.
Okay, I'm happy to double check.
Okay,
Do you want? to
Okay.
delay passage until then, or?
just double check that. Pretty sure I abstained.
You can make that kind of change if it's an error.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so, vote.
Ready? Yep.
All right, Connors.
Yes.
Dylan.
Yes.
No arguments, Bruce.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll move the June 16th meeting minutes.
I'll second those.
Oh, who did that first?
I did it first, I think.
Okay, only thing I had from that, and I wish I could have gotten here earlier to talk about, on page 6, it talks about on resolution 191, and this is mainly just if it could go into the minutes to, so it doesn't get lost. The 191 was to appoint the town clerk as representative for the town of Danby to the Tompkins County Animal Control Advisory Board.
Mhm.
And in there, people couldn't find a record of there being anybody appointed, but.
I didn't clarify in the most recent contract, at the time of the most recent contract, because the previous one.
Yeah, I don't know why it got dropped, but we had in February of 22.
Yes.
We had appointed the town clerk
Yes,
to that position.
yeah,
So-
I wasn't sure whether that would still apply or,
Yeah.
because a new contract was signed, that no one was really.
Not that we can't do it again, I just
Yeah.
didn't want to lose that we had done that, so that's all.
I can,
All right,
It was an open-ended
it
appointment.
was Janice, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a town clerk.
Yeah.
One of those. You know, if you can't search the archives, it's really hard to find stuff.
Mhm. Well, even if you can, sometimes it's hard.
No, when you could search it,
Yeah,
it was easy. Anyway,
ready?
okay, ready.
Yeah.
all right, Connors.
Yes.
Dylan.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the first item on the reports is from the Water District. Expecting Leonard Dodge to be here, but I don't see him in the audience.
I don't see him either. Anybody else see him?
Well, I mean, he may think that the meeting is at 7, so why don't, if he shows up, we can come back to it.
Oh, okay.
And we don't have anything from Irene either, do we?
We got something in today, but she did something.
Yeah.
No.
So it didn't make it for the newsletter either. I don't think Keith was actually expecting to say anything. And he's not here either. So that brings us to the account analysis.
Yep.
Which was shared. Anybody have any questions? In the communication, the email communication suggested that there would be a account transfer needed, but after Ted consulted with Laura Shawley, that need disappeared. So there isn't one
Yeah.
needed. Although there is, recall the grant we got for the celebrations grants for the Memorial Day
Mhm.
gathering. An invoice was submitted to the county, but payment has not yet been received. But Bill Evans submitted an invoice so
Right.
that he could pay the Sons of Union Veterans. That creates a negative balance in the account, but I don't see any problem with carrying that negative balance and paying the money, because it will disappear when the money from the county
We just have to watch.
shows up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay,
So no action needed, basically.
okay.
Which brings us to the warrant. Now that you're back,
I don't know why I get the numbers, you know?
Mariah filled in for me quite nicely last time, but
Move abstract, the general fund abstract 16 vouchers 259 through 282 for $21,089.37.
second. Any questions?
Nope,
I just had one, there's an invoice in there from Dominic Timpano for a quarterly consultation. It doesn't
Yes.
say what it's about, what is that?
Is that for the highway? That's.
It's highway.
Highway,
$266.
Well, Laura,
$100 quarterly.
It's a training.
consultation.
It's a training, I was just curious, because it didn't say who the person was, if they worked for.
Yeah.
What it was about, it just
I've
makes
asked-
me feel
asked-
like.
Yeah. I've asked
Laura's
the
here,
same
but I'm not
thing.
sure which Laura.
I know, I don't think it's a other Laura, but
Which
think-
Laura is
think-
here?
the highway departments have to have this person who's, are they from the state? I don't, they come quarterly
Yeah,
and
it's a contractual thing.
put on a show or something, yeah.
So, okay, just curious, the invoice doesn't look very official.
I know,
It
yes.
comes from like New York.
Do you have
State
the
or
receipt
something.
Yeah.
for the voucher?
It's a recurring
It
thing.
explains or you say.
Yeah.
Thomas, it was.
So what the heck is that?
Yeah.
I had the same question and I asked her about it, but
The hell was Dominic?
yes, yes.
Curious, it just seems weird to say consultation and not say about.
About what? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume that's a state.
Right.
That, yeah.
It's not gonna change my vote, I'm just curious, good to know. Keep them-
Federal identification number, so it's a federal thing.
Well, no, federal ID is just a DBA,
Huh?
business
Any business can-
Any business can have one, basically,
Well, yeah,
even if you're just a consultant.
we could. I forget but Laura told us the time
Well, exactly. I asked about it too, and
I know it was like a routine training.
yes, and it's,
Is Laura here?
No, no.
well,
it's a
there is a
different one.
Laura here, but we're gonna have people's last names on their.
See, okay, because I have a question about 278. And there's some email here and Laura Shawley is saying that we owe some money because her daughter worked the first, it would
Oh,
appear to
right.
me that her daughter worked the first quarter of 2025. But I don't think that she did work here in 2025. She worked here in 2023. Maybe it's just a typo.
Doesn't that explain that it's retroactive? I thought it. And it was that Laura.
Well, she said we owe some money from the first quarter of 25. So maybe that was from 23.
Who was.
I think it's for
somebody who was-
Joanna who broke her ankle,
Right.
Right,
but she worked for us she doesn't work for us in 2025. She worked for us in 2023.
Right.
It might just be a typo there.
well, that's when the bill showed up. Again, this is something Laura explained,
I
but
thought it mentioned something about it being retroactive. I mean, we can get more detail on it, but yeah.
Okay, and it might just be a typo. I don't know, but I know that Joanna didn't work in here for the town in 25.
Right.
that's correct. But I think it, you know, the bill is,
I think
we didn't get the bill.
Yeah,
We didn't get the bill to 25, I think is what happened.
now we can get more details on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the first time that's happened.
Things pop up out of the past,
I know.
like that Xerox bill we had. Are we ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
All right, Connors.
Yes.
Dillon,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yeah.
Tanya,
Yes,
thank you.
I move the highway fund abstract 16 vouchers 119 through 125 for $30,201.97.
I'll second.
comments or questions?
None from me.
No, I didn't have any.
Okay,
All right, Connors,
Yes.
Dillon.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yeah,
Tanya,
yes.
thank you.
well, it looks like someone asked us to turn on transcriptions on the Zoom up there.
You want to do that?
What?
Yeah.
Why not?
Someone might be having trouble hearing, and Zoom does
Oh.
offer like an automated thing that turns the text into words so they can see it.
I've seen those transcripts and you may or may not be able to figure it out. from the
Yeah,
past.
sometimes it's gibberish, but if someone needs it, they don't.
Yeah,
Huh.
all right, on to business. We propose having Laura Rivet take Laura Shawley's place as our representative to the Health Insurance Consortium. And I discovered in the course of this that she was doing a great deal more than just being our representative to the board of directors. She's on also the municipal joint committee, which is almost a parallel body.
What is the municipal joint committee?
Well, that's a good question. I asked the same question. And the answer was a little bit confusing. But this was after the consortium was first established, it was of course a board of directors.
Right.
This joint committee was created to, and as I understand it, involve labor in the whole review process. So it almost parallels the board of directors. And Laura's been vice chair of that group since it was formed. And she proposed that Laura Rivet take her place on both the board of directors and the joint committee. She was also benefits clerk. That's not so obvious that she would succeed in that capacity, but for these two, for sure.
Benefits clerk.
Yeah, benefits clerk, you know, on our behalf or
Okay.
or in general, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But anyway, that's a third position that she was fulfilling as a member of the board of directors that I'm not sure she would be doing.
Well, is it our place to appoint her to the municipal joint committee? Maybe it's the consortium's board of directors' place to appoint someone to the municipal joint committee.
I would have thought so myself, except that the communication I got from the person, the administrative head, asked, is Laura going to replace, you know, she asked basically that she be appointed to both.
And Laura Rivet is amenable to this?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
very
Maybe,
good.
maybe we could get a good description of this joint committee.
That could be Laura's first, you know, it's like, she's boning up on it, you know, but there are a lot of municipalities now participating in this. It started out with just Tompkins County, but it's gotten way bigger. So this year, the powers that be have been doing an educational series of webinars to help explain all that they do. And it's a good way to jump in if you're new to it. So
Yeah.
I kind of pointed Laura in that direction.
Yeah.
She's going to do that in order to get a handle on what it is that she's being asked to do.
Yeah.
It looks to me, just doing some quick research, that the joint committee is made up of two groups. One of them is bargaining unit representatives, and the
Yeah.
other group are representatives appointed by each municipality. So it is us that puts that, it is
And
right that we are proposing her to represent Danby on the joint
Right.
committee.
And who are the other, the late representative?
Bargaining unit
Yeah,
representatives.
typically union reps, yeah.
Union reps. This is according to AI, so admittedly may not be perfect. The joint committee reviews all prospective board of director actions related to the benefit structure and design of the plans
Oh,
the consortium
Okay.
offers and makes recommendations to the board of directors.
okay,
It's all about
There's more than that.
what
right?
kind of insurance is available, basically.
right, right.
So there
Okay.
was, to my understanding, there was some resistance to that whole idea in the beginning, but it's turned out to be quite beneficial, according to
Good,
Laura.
yeah. Yeah, good, okay.
So I move that we appoint Laura Rivet to those joint positions, the Board of Directors and Municipal Joint Committee.
I'll second it. Good. Good.
Well,
I don't know.
what do you think?
That was picture perfect.
Yes. Shall we
I-
draw
I-
straws?
you can have You can have.
Any further discussion?
Laura's good with it?
What?
Laura's good? Laura, can you wave at us?
She didn't say anything or appear or anything.
She's not screaming.
She's lurking.
She's not screaming.
Yeah.
All right. Connor.
Yeah.
Dylan.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Gang gang.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, the bid documents are all good to go. That package is put together. It's an intimidating 300 and how many
Oh,
pages?
geez, who's gonna read that?
Well, it's not, there is, the later part of it is kind of, contract, blah, blah, blah. and
It's a lot of boilerplate.
There's some really good stuff in here about instructions to bidders.
Yeah.
And, the bid form, which, are not, page 20, I guess, these are, yeah. So I think if you want to just go through the first 50 pages, it's not that bad.
Mhm.
And to be fair, it was accidentally printed on one side. So
So it'd only be 150 pages instead of 300.
exactly, exactly. But again, the first, they've done a very good job, I think, P.D. Miller.
Yeah, I'm just,
Well, most of it's
my only
good.
concern is that it might be so intimidating that your smaller contractors would say, what?
Oh, well, I'd be happy to walk through a smaller contractor. It's not really horrible. The instructions to the bidders and the bid form, well, they say, honestly, what you gotta do is you gotta know those plans and get familiar with the property and know what's happening. I mean, obviously, we would want any contractor to do that,
Yeah, sure.
so.
No, I don't think, I don't quibble with the content. It's just that the size of it is itself intimidating.
But again, that was printed on one side accidentally.
Yes, yeah. But it's a lot different than just getting a, one-page proposal. Yeah. So it is proposed that we authorize the issuance of these bids with a reply by what?
August 12th at 1
August.
o'clock.
Mhm.
Can I second?
Sure,
Is that a motion?
with a motion.
All right.
Is that enough time?
Mhm. Yeah, well, you can, that's a question to ask, is that enough time?
Well, we need to get this done before the snow flies.
We'd like to.
Yeah.
We have no idea. I mean,
If there's
maybe
not enough time, there's gonna be no bids.
It may be hurry up and wait.
Yeah,
But
right.
I mean, it would have been nice to have done it sooner if we gotten to it,
Yeah.
so that, but here we are. So if the upshot is nobody applies, nobody submits a bid, no, well, guess it's not gonna happen this year. Or alternatively, I can't, people say, but yes, I'll do it, but not until next spring.
Okay, so it is,
Fall would be all right.
it is written into the contract that the crosswalk is the project.
Yes,
That the town hall is an alternative project. So
An
it's
additional-
possible that people can say, oh, I'll do the crosswalk.
Mhm.
And I think there's a date in there by November something. And I'll do the town hall part in the spring.
Mhm.
So that is out there as an option.
So it doesn't, I confess I didn't read 300 and pages.
I don't think I read every single page.
Yeah, but it doesn't limit it to this year for A
Right.
and B.
Right.
So we're asking people, you know, we're trying, we're trying to get some hard numbers, essentially, what this is about, is, you know, what is it actually going to cost to do these things? And then when we have those hard numbers, we can say,
Right.
you know, we'll do the
Okay.
crosswalk and do the other part later, or we'll, let's go for it, you know, but depending on what kind of response we get.
Yeah.
But this gets it out there so we get a handle on it.
Okay.
And it's great that we get it all together, what we want to have happen. In excruciating in detail.
Thank
And we're gonna leave that copy of the contract and those drawings
Does it
here
work?
at the town hall. I'm gonna print up another working set shortly.
On both sides, probably.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna print up another book.
She's
Just-
drawing.
Even these, yes.
I mean, I can print out pages from,
Yeah.
which I did. I printed out the bid form today. Yeah, no, it's the drawings are really the meat and potatoes. Well,
Yes, they
I
are.
guess I'm not a lawyer, so.
Yes, no, well, it's the part the contractor is going to be using.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
right?
All right. Connors.
Yes.
Dylan.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. This is more verification than proposal, but the West Danby Community Association, and when I suggested to it that we do what we have done in the past, and I'm speaking here as a member thereof, we have recognized and made the focus of the picnic retiring officials from the town multiple times in the past. And it seemed opportune to do it for Laura Shawley as well.
Yeah.
And when I ran the idea by the group, they thought, sure. And when I ran it by you and Mariah, you said, sure. So we just need to confirm that that's what we're going to do. It's scheduled for the 15th of August.
Make sure she can be there.
Is she gonna be
I
around?
called her, she's good with it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
August 15.
Yeah. So,
You moving that?
yeah,
I'll second that.
Sorry, what exactly is being moved?
Yeah.
collaborating with the West Danby Community Association to, at the annual picnic to honor Laura Shawley. At the semi-quincentennial West
Those
Danby
picnics are fun.
picnic.
All right. All right, Connors.
Yes.
Dylan.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
Do you happen to know the timing? Is it like midday or evening?
it's afternoon into the evening.
I haven't seen anything written about
I
it.
don't try to remember.
It'll be in the newsletter.
It'll be in the newsletter then.
Yeah.
I guess because it's recognized by the town, it can go on the town calendar.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of weird gray area with putting community events on .gov websites, just to put that out there, but since this is something that is, the town is actively, saying, hey, we're gonna be doing something here.
Yeah.
I think that is
Yeah.
the very good country.
Yeah. We should talk about, if we're gonna, we should do some sort of plaque. We've done it before. There was a question, I mean, and the community association has done it as well. But it seems to me it would be good to have, something that signed by the town board as the
Yeah, we've got paper.
proclamation. You already have the special paper, right?
Yeah, we've got some of that special paper left.
And
No.
Do you need another
and a
frame? Do you need another frame?
Yeah, I don't think we have any frames. I don't know, unless you've got.
now, if the nice thing about doing it this way is that the community association has a budget. Once they have a contract, we still don't have an agreement with WDCA. So it's going to have to precede that, maybe I can get it at the next meeting. But anyway, that money can be used to pay for the frame
I'll buy
and
it
this
for
other
you.
stuff.
I want the last 5.
Yes, I know, yes,
They're like 12.
yeah,
You got a good one.
Right, 50.
yes. And we'll work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next up, special events law.
Next.
I'm prepared to talk about it, and so are you, I presume. You want screen share?
I don't have anything open to share.
Do you want me to?
We could pull up the version that was last seen, which is from the last meeting. Which I did link.
Well, I apologize. I started and I actually have what I first started writing and then my daughter showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Life happens.
Well, you know,
I think it was kind of cool that your girl showed up.
I know,
Mm.
but it meant.
Yeah, I know.
Along with her was her daughter.
Else, I mean, scroll as you desire, so I'm not gonna be able to follow up.
Because you can't do both things at once. Can I do it, Mariah? That'd be good.
I can scroll, I would like to propose simplifying the law, getting rid of decibels, getting rid of the initial criteria about,
Oops.
how much space and how many people.
Yeah, I mean, well, your suggestions and my suggestions and,
I don't think I saw your suggestions, Joel.
well, because I sent them to Mark. We recall that where we left off at the last meeting, was we were all going to send our suggestions to Mark.
Right,
And he was going to compile them into a list so they were not overlapping.
right.
It turned out there were only 2 people who did it. Neither of whom did it timely, but he did take it into account. And then Mark has, well, he did send us an email where he shared, you know, what the issues were, and we work our way down through to see what we want to do with each one. And the first one had to do with the purpose and intent, where you suggested a change, Mariah.
Yes.
Um,
And I think Mark incorporated. You know, I'm not married to that. I just thought it'd be more helpful, and the laws that I've read. The event laws that I've read from New York State have a preamble on.
mhm.
What is it, the purpose and intent?
Yeah, the purpose and
Gives a
intent is
little
basically,
bit-
right.
Gives a little meaning, like why.
Why you're doing this.
Doing this.
Yeah.
What's the goal here? I know that regulate large outdoor events. Why is that in the way? Oh, there we go. So yes, I wrote some more blah, 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 blah. And then I didn't see, and then did you incorporate Joel's?
The document I sent out, which we can look at, I just wasn't really sure if it was ready for us to be sharing it, incorporated, I tried to merge the comments that I got all into it together, yes.
Okay,
So
I
see it.
didn't see them, I guess.
I think it's appropriate to share at this point, at which point it becomes a public document, but that's.
I'm okay with that.
You're
if you
okay with
are. I
that?
just didn't want to like say that, because I was taking things you emailed me and put it into here. I didn't want to just throw it onto SharePoint.
But if you've got it, you could share it.
Yeah, I can log into Zoom. I have
Oh,
to
you're not
admit, I'm
there.
feeling hesitant to start with the details of negotiating the wording, because I feel like
Well, they're big questions.
there are also bigger questions,
Mhm.
and I don't really want to spend.
I don't want to wordsmith. I
Mhm.
do not want to wordsmith. I'm with you.
That's not what I was saying, actually.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I do want to wisdom.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Zach has both recused himself and
Right.
said he wants us to drop this. He doesn't think that we should be passing this law. I have to admit, it was hard to listen to 2.5 hours of people saying that this is a terrible law, although I would say a majority of the comments were not really about the law at
Right.
all. They were mostly in defense of something that this is not in particularly against, so it wasn't totally. And I'm also feeling a little bit of the wind out of my sails, feeling that the group of people who I think would be the most imminently protected by this have literally threatened to sue the town if we pass it, which is making me feel like, why are we doing this? And so I just want to like voice that and say it out loud, because I can't really put my heart into negotiating over the decibels here and, here and there. Like, I kind of just want to ask, like, do you want, like, does the board want to do a special event law, or does the board, do you not want to do a special event law? Because negotiating over the details, if actually what you want is to not do a law at all, I think I'd
That
rather
would be a
have that
waste of time.
discussion.
Yeah.
I actually, I think I sent out an apology and
Oh, yeah, because you didn't get to it.
I mean, I mean, right now, I would actually like to get together. I would like to get together with Mark and just go over the whole premise. Not to wordsmith, but to really get down into what is it we want, what is, what's the best thing for the community, for everybody, which is like really hard to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, instead of starting here, I would like to back up. And I know Mark has spent the most time, on this, that, I would, that's where I am at. I would like to get together with Mark and see. I don't necessarily want to scrap. I don't want to scrap the idea, but there may be a different format that would be simpler and easier and more useful for most. Not going to work for everybody. But that's, I don't want to go through the whole thing right now. But that's,
What about you, Mariah?
I would like to work it and make it simpler.
I think we need something. I don't think what we have is gonna work, because it's asking for resources that the town does not have. The measuring of the counting of the people, determining acreage. I think I heard a suggestion at the public hearing to have just the planner or the code officer. And I think Ivan mentioned it today, instead of having the BZA, just have the planner or the code officer say, yeah, you're gonna need a permit. And then having a permit process, having it be simple and easy, having people, like I said, between $10 and $25, have a permit for a series. If you get complaints, you lose your permit. Maybe.
Really?
No.
Well, I guess,
Oh,
okay, and I'm not, I'm speaking off the cuff here.
Yeah.
Can we make peace with our neighbors and have events that aren't, upsetting the neighbors? Maybe if you get 5 complaints, you have to go back and get a new permit.
Then people will be paying people to
Yeah,
complain.
I mean, I feel like we're only in this situation because we already know that
Right.
neighbors can't make peace with each other. And we basically have been told anything that we try to pass, or if Steve were to start doing music, his neighbors will complain. They've already said
Okay.
they're opposed to anything, which just means to me that we can't set up a system which allows somebody making a complaint to control whether someone else can
Okay.
have an event.
I would like to say that, I would, go back to the original reason that we started looking at having a special event law really had absolutely, I'll go out on a limb. I was gonna go back and read all my notes. My folder is that thick. It really had very little to do with the noise. It had to do with the traffic, the camping, food vendor, it was all this other stuff and that the traffic, it actually had very little to do with the noise.
I can't say that I agree,
Well, I'm
Because of-
gonna
because-
go back over because
because
did you drive around? Okay, I drove around.
well, no, but
Catherine and I drove
I got the
around.
calls from the neighbors.
Yeah, well,
Complaining,
it was
complaining
loud.
about the lead up to it, because there was a pattern of having these, loud events,
They practiced.
practices and stuff
But
on the property, and they
It had
were,
nothing to do with the event. It
um,
was a band who would practice there, and if it was nice weather, they practiced outside.
yeah.
Okay, so bands are, I've been in the South Hill Cider neighborhood and heard somebody say, is that South Hill Cider or is that music coming from Sim Redmond? Is practicing, I'm feeling like, I'm feeling like we could make it a lot simpler, and really look at what are the problems, and noise might be a problem. It is not the problem. It's not the only problem.
Yeah,
And
completely
this
agree.
started before, this started before people were having trouble with Steve Sealan.
Yeah,
Okay, and
I haven't expressed my opinion yet.
okay, hold on,
No,
let me
yeah,
finish
late.
mine. When thinking about this law, I cannot really consider South Hill Cider and the neighbors. That's like a lawsuit, that's like a divorce that's happening.
Mhm.
And to even consider that situation, when you're putting together a town law seems, irresponsible, because you got a situation. I don't know what to do about that situation. I don't know how to resolve it. But I wanna think about the Szymanski's farm. I wanna think about, people just having,
Yeah.
a big bash like Angelo,
Mhm.
how can that happen, and engaging the neighbors? Can we please engage the neighbors before you have an event, and be nice to each other? That's all I can consider. I can't consider this mess over here with South Hill Cider. I don't, I've been divorced. It's awful. It's
Mhm.
awful, and I feel very bad for all those people involved.
Excuse
But
me,
I don't-
please remove.
No.
So, my feeling on the matter is that, I think we had good reason to want
Yeah.
a special event law.
Yeah.
To enable the kind of thing that Angelo attempted, but with appropriate planning. That we're not scrambling to deal with, what about the parking? That was a big deal.
Yeah.
But lost in you someplace, but it ended up being like, well, why don't we make it, if you're trying to make it so that we're not really dealing with the special events, but that our trigger level is so low that's going to catch all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That wasn't our purpose or intent in the first place. South Hill Cider is not a special situation, but there aren't very many like it, in as much as he's constrained to agricultural use. Because in the zone, the only thing that's allowed is residential and agricultural uses. And special event law would impose upon the allowed uses that are agricultural, a requirement for permit if they exceed a certain size. That's not a requirement that Ag and Markets imposes. Ag and Markets has told us that they're okay if we had site plan review
Yeah,
for ongoing things like that. And George France's what was it, memo to the board about the agricultural definition suggests that site plan review would be an appropriate thing to add for at these kind of agricultural enterprises.
Yep.
That would give you,
hear it.
that would give you an opportunity to do with site plan review to say, okay, look at parking, look at all these other things. The noise part of it is really, Ag Markets doesn't care about noise. You know, that's not part of the considerations. We really need a noise law.
Yeah.
That cuts across, covers all the situations and not just special events. What we've done is a carve out here that says, well, if it's big enough, then you're going to have a permit, and how amount of noise you make is going to be constrained. You're not constrained if you're below the threshold because we don't have a noise law. So there's nothing there to address the need that pre-existed and continues to exist for the annoying, loud events, not just music, but it's the gunfire when it looks like all your buddies are getting together and you're starting World War III. It's the
Oh, that's my neighborhood.
it's the dirt track where the guy goes around, the kids go around and around and around for hours at a time, and it's next to your bedroom window.
That's my neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
It continues to exist, and you can argue, well, it ought better to be addressed there than by doing a carve out for these extra large events. Although, and the presumption here, I think, is on the part of the neighbors that if you curtail the large events altogether as being exceeding the agricultural use, that will take care of the noise because there's only those big ones that are really loud. Maybe, but Ag and Markets understanding of what's okay doesn't really address noise at all. So that's not a good tool for addressing the issue. Yeah. My sense is that, this was turned to, this whole question of enforcing our zoning law was turned to as that, it's the hammer that's available and it's trying to drive a screw. It's just the wrong tool for the job. What we need is a noise law to address the noise issue for these guys and everybody else in town. The special events law really should be focused on the rest of it, which is what Leslie was just alluding to. But if we enable the large events, which are currently not allowed, except as agricultural events, without addressing the noise, then we're opening ourselves up for the probability that large musical events will be very loud. And unless we put some regulation in there regarding what the sound limits are,
Which could be done through site plan review.
it could be done through site plan review. Like,
That was the low hanging fruit that CJ.
yeah. Well, and that George is also pointing to.
That is requesting that we remove the screen chair. We are not actively.
Well, I
What?
guess we could do that, although it's not like you're going to gain a whole lot.
Yeah. Anybody can choose not to look at the shared screen. It's
Yeah.
just a setting on Zoom. Anybody can click that.
You can still see us all, just we're in a small pane.
Jesus. Leave it up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway, so my own feeling is that we really do. The reason for wanting it is still there.
Yeah.
It's just a question of what is it going to look like. I had a couple of suggestions, but there are a couple of really searching ones, like do we do a ministerial approval, by the planner instead of using the BZA. And I think I think you went for the BZA because it would provide a forum essentially.
It didn't. Guy said he
yeah.
thought there was too much discretion involved in who gets a permit, and who doesn't. It shouldn't be a staff member. It should be a representative body.
Right.
So that was our lawyer who said, he didn't think it would be good for the town to have a paid employee making the decision about who gets a permit and who doesn't. I
Right.
felt uncomfortable about that.
Yeah.
But that was because
It wasn't with me, it was with Greg. I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was because there was so much discretion in the way the criteria are set forth. If we were going to do it by the planner, we'd have to make it less. There have to be less discretion essentially. The rules for when you get one have to be a set of criteria to say.
The rules for if you need one.
Well, there's rules for if you need one, but then if you do need one, you get a checklist of things that you have to
Right.
Two
do.
different sets. There's the triggering criteria and then there's the approval
Yeah.
criteria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Was it the triggering criteria that Guy was pointing to, or what do we got?
I wasn't in that conversation. That's just been relayed to me by Greg Hudnick. Greg was the one who
Yeah.
I talked to him about
Yeah.
that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what his answer would be about that.
But fundamentally, if we're going to do have a planner, or, the clerk, or the code officer, or one of us, somebody be the approval person, it needs to be not a whole lot of discretion involved. You reach a trigger, and then you can answer the questions that regarding how you do it with a yes or a no, and not, well, you could do it this way, or you could do it that way, or. So if we want to make that change, it's a pretty significant departure from the way we've got it structured. And then, of course, question, do we? Or do we want to leave it the way it is?
I would like to try and revamp it.
With that in mind, or
Well, those would be, yeah. Yeah.
making?
I mean, I think we need a special event law. I think we need a noise law, and I think we need site plan review for ag
Mhm.
activities / development, which is something, we talked about that with the hemp farm thing, that's, we've sat on it, we've not done anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
you
George
know,
is now.
That could have, that would have been, an issue.
Right, in
If
fact,
we had it when, say, South Hill Cider or any other, Spansky's farm.
Right. well, George is here, so you could,
Huh?
so George is here on Zoom.
Mm.
And could be participating in this conversation.
We'd rather go to sleep.
What am I being tasked with, Joel?
Yeah, nothing.
Well, I mean, what I was about to task you with, if the thing, you put together the memo.
Mhm.
And in the memo, it addresses both the need to update our definition of agriculture.
Yeah.
But you also suggested that at a couple of different places that site plan review would be an appropriate addition.
Yep. Yep.
And I think I mentioned to you that, this is something Leslie's been lobbying for literally years. And I think I at least would like to take advantage of your presence in our midst, to have you draft something that would accomplish these multiple objectives.
Okay.
The site plan review.
Adding site plan review and changing the definition of agriculture.
Okay.
Okay.
Drafting a new law?
No,
Oh.
Well,
I mean,
it is a new law, because when you change your zoning,
it's a zoning.
Okay.
In the zoning.
it's a law,
Yeah.
but the law would be to make the changes to the zoning, appropriate
Okay, so
changes.
it's
Yeah.
just the
Amend the
definition-
zoning.
definitions related to agriculture.
Yep,
And
and adding site plan review, which is also
Site plan review.
within zoning.
ag development and or activities, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I actually do have a question about the events law. Okay.
Uh-huh.
If it goes to the BZA,
Yeah.
does that throw it into the category of discretionary decision?
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, then
That's
so
why,
it's-
that's why Guy suggested to go there in the first place, because he thought there was too much discretion. Without, unless it went to a discretionary body to decide.
okay, so then would it be subject to a seeker?
Whenever somebody did an application?
Yeah,
Good question.
That hasn't come up until now.
No.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I didn't think so.
And it's not a bad idea, actually, particularly if these could be unlisted actions, essentially. So, filling out the short form. It may be a good idea because then it can, the board can maybe identify potential issues through the seeker questionnaires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it could be something where the planner position sort of oversees that, but I mean, could gather the information. And it could be, I mean, I was thinking it could even be something that is brought to the board, so it's not just one person and the board sits there with either the seeker form or some checklist,
Well, we have,
and-
we have a pretty long list and,
Well,
things for them
yeah.
to think about.
Well, yeah, but,
Right up there is what addresses Pat's thing, which was take into account the site and whether it's adequate for the
Right,
for the
right.
purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there is gonna be some, there is gonna be some discretionary, the site may be huge and big enough and it's on a slope that's, what? Like Miller, it's, 18, 20,
It could
so,
be in West Danby,
Yeah.
which is no flat
Right,
place. at
right.
all.
yeah.
so. It's gonna
He's
be,
raising his hand over there. He's trying to get your attention.
Well, I noticed that Laura has her hand up and I have no idea why. Yeah.
oh,
So I could, Laura, you raise your hand.
Hi. I just, if we could circle back for just a moment to what you were saying about amending the zoning. I just have a question about that. If I may. So my question is, what type of amendment are you mentioning? And why would that be preferable to just having the entity adjust their site allocation?
Well, site plan review is a process where if you got typically a business and you're conducting it, it gets an opportunity for the municipality to weigh in on whether or not you've got adequate parking on site. You have, you can handle the crowds, however large they are.
access for emergency vehicles.
Sure.
Access for emergency vehicles, whether you've got adequate sanitary facilities.
Sure,
All those
so-
things can put into an agreement then that you are bound by, as opposed to just winging it and the town not having any opportunity to deal with, well, to take Southfield Cider as an example.
Yeah.
There was site plan approval for Southfield Cider that was done by CJ Randall, even though it wasn't provided for specifically in the zoning law, but it did have in that previous version of zoning, it had uses similar to language that allowed the planner to say, well, this is similar to,
Right.
I forget what it was, but she used it as a springboard for doing site plan review. That language went away with the current version of zoning, so there's no longer that site plan mechanism in
So
place for them.
are you recommending then a reversion to that previous iteration or a reexamination and adjusting the language to like a third iteration?
It would be new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if the key reason for site plan review, the overarching reason for site plan review is to ensure that any site that is open to the general public is safe for the general public and it has the infrastructure necessary. For instance, ADA accessibility. Again, the number of parking spaces is adequate, but also the entrance and exit off the site is safe for the public.
Yeah. One of the things that I particularly am interested in as well is zoning as it pertains to tax responsibility and how that contributes to the area in terms of the use of the area and what's being contributed to fixing the area and the wear and tear and all of that sort of thing. So I was curious about zoning as it pertains to that in conjunction with the law that's being discussed.
Well, we could talk about that sometime, but this is not the right place.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I was just curious about the zoning specifically, I suppose, as opposed to the site review.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, the site review would actually be in the zoning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In addition
Yep.
to,
Right.
yeah.
So sorry, just one follow-up question. So then if you were to adjust the zoning, would any current businesses in the area be subject to a new site review under the new zoning law?
Well, any, well, what do you say, George?
I don't
Well,
think so.
yeah, any existing business can continue to function.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
But let's say the business proposes to expand or something like that.
Right. That's true, yeah.
The expansion would be subject to site plan review.
Okay.
You can't pass a law that retroactively makes a business be,
Yeah.
out of compliance.
Nobody has
That
to
wouldn't be
close
fair to
them.
them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Essentially, they're quote unquote grandfathered in where they are.
Yeah.
Which is
Right.
why the types of changes we're talking about are interesting, but wouldn't resolve or affect anything in existence right now.
Right.
Change anything now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So George, you're okay with being charged with both revising our agricultural definition and adding site plan review for these?
Yeah, I can do that. You know, it's again, I'm looking for small projects like this to keep me occupied. I am not willing to retire at this point. Let's put it that way. So,
Could you have it done by next week?
no.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's not going to be that difficult to draft up a site plan review process. So, and I'm actually right now I'm planning to be here through at least August 10th.
Okay. Right, when Greg come back. Cool. Right. But I don't think that's going to get us there.
No.
Yeah.
But again, I'm willing to, just continue on as needed.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to essentially propose that we keep you on as to augment Greg's efforts.
Yes.
So then, Leslie, do you want to take a stab at revising the draft special event law?
I'd like to if I had some company.
I was pretty clear after the public hearing that I don't really want to continue to, I don't want to take it back down to scratch and build it back up based on the idea that we could simplify it and it would just magically be better. I think that, I'm not trying to be touchy about it, but I think that kind of ignores the fact that Joel and Greg and I spent a ton of time thinking out all of these things. And like, when I approached it, I said, this needs to be simpler.
Yeah.
But the more we talk about it, the more edge cases there
Right.
are, and we're trying to accommodate them. And I don't really want to just, I'm just very aware of the tendency to circle
Yeah.
and work
Yeah.
endlessly on something. So it does feel frustrating to feel like you're assuming that there is some magical better thing that will be simple and easy, but you can't point to what it is. And the idea that the answer is neighbors should work together, that doesn't really fit into a law. References to like, we shouldn't have decibels, we should use phrases like unreasonable noise. I don't think we're ever gonna get to a point where anybody can agree what that means, which is why we ended up with decibels.
Right.
So I just don't wanna like,
Yeah.
I don't wanna endlessly talk about this, partially because people really don't want it. Maybe let's table the whole thing and see how things go. I don't know, maybe that's just what people want. I don't know. I
Yeah.
admit I'm feeling frustrated, and I don't at the moment want to commit to just going back to the basics and rebuilding it back up
Right.
on the basis that we missed some obvious solution. When
Right.
I don't think we did. I think that I
know.
think this was
I
the
don't think
product of
anything
all
was
of that
missed.
careful work.
Yeah.
And the truth is, the fact that people who want more events don't like it and people who want less events don't like it, that might mean it's the right balance.
Yeah.
That like, if we only had people on one side who didn't like it, then maybe that would be a
Yeah.
version that wasn't balanced enough. I don't think we're ever gonna get something called a special event law that is gonna fill the room with people who think, great. So like,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I did hear a number of people said they liked it, but change this and change that.
Yes, there was, and there were a lot more
Quite a
people who
few
said, who said, we think this is a bad idea, most of whom misunderstood the point of it.
Yeah.
If you like to look at the people who think we ought to have special events, I think most people would have said yes. It's just that a lot of them thought that we were trying to curtail them instead of enable them.
I mean, I'd be willing to work on it.
I think there was the total misunderstanding that Steve is not having events because this draft exists somehow, which doesn't make any sense at all because it's a draft and it isn't a law yet, so it doesn't actually make any sense to present it in that way.
Right.
Yeah, I think at least some people were suggesting specific things that like, your list was actually pretty similar to my list of like the tweaks that I heard over and over again. Like, I was on board with dropping the collecting a fee criteria.
Yeah.
I thought there were some good arguments made about that, and that kind of convinced me.
Yep, me too.
Yep.
I mean, we could, Mariah, you're talking about simplifying the criteria with the acreage and the number of people. We could, but then what's the number of people? And then we're gonna get into a conversation that we have actually already had about,
Yeah.
oh, let's do 100 people. No, 100 people, that's not a special event. Now we're like rehabbing
Right.
conversations that happened a year ago. So then we're, 100 people, I guess that makes sense. Depending on the size of the property, we're gonna end up back here again.
Yeah.
Well, there was a question of whether we could substitute some other basis for scale, triggering level. And of course, Ted's suggestion of doing it on basis of available space, that seems to be that almost as problematic in terms of how you're going to measure it.
Yeah.
The Pat Woodworth made the same point about, what makes a difference whether it's a forested property, or open field, whether it's reasonable. But, I can point to the fact that, we've got in here, things for the BZA to look at, and one of them is the adequacy of the site to conduct the event that you're proposing.
Right.
So, I mean, it's already in there. But what's the trigger that for needing in the first place? That, but I'm okay with simplifying and saying, okay, it's more than 150 people or 50 cars.
I think if we're gonna simplify, we gotta go with the highest number, not the lowest number. Otherwise, I think we're overly restricting things. So if we want to drop the acre number of people, make it not tiered, then I'd be okay with that if we go with the 300 and not 100.
Hold on, why is it restrictive to have people get a permit?
It's restrictive for all the reasons that people presented, that it feels, but we are literally saying you can't do that unless you get a permit. So we are literally restricting their ability to do
Yeah,
something.
but what if the permitting process is relatively easy? I mean,
According to who? Like, I mean, relatively easy is just not a phrase that has an
you know,
objective meaning.
okay, so
So it
$10,
couldn't be the
you come to town hall, you gotta notify your neighbors that you're having a thing.
Right, I mean, feel like if we extrapolated what you're saying, we would get this law, but what you're describing, you come in, you pay $10 and notify neighbors. That means you have to fill out an application and then somebody has to send out the neighbors, but then how do the neighbors give input back if you're just giving a simple form? You need it to happen on a date that's set ahead of time in front of some deliberative body like the BZA. So I guess you're stating it simply in a way that obscures the fact that what you're suggesting would be complicated to implement, and this is what it would look like to implement it. You know what I mean? You said to notify neighbors. Who does that and how do they respond if the decision isn't made in front of a body?
Well, I mean, that part at least could be ministerial, where, you know, if somebody applies, the criteria for doing a notification is already in there. You know, you have to notify neighbors within whatever it was, 500 feet, and that was going to be done by the town anyway.
Yeah.
So we could do that. But it does mean that every time, you know, are we going to actually let somebody have one of these events and pay $10, and then we're going to spend, you know, $250 worth of staff time and
Right.
to send letters out to all those people?
Comments, so-
Well, it is actually in there as an extra expense. So the permit could be, you know, cheap for the permit, but it's going to cost you another, you know, $150 to have the neighbors notified, depending on how many neighbors there are.
And then if the neighbors want to respond, they're submitting comments to Greg Hutnick, and then it's Greg Hutnick's job to relay between the neighbors and the person applying.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really seem like, I don't think anybody wants that job, but it doesn't seem appropriate for the planner or for any
Well,
staff
the
member to
code
be.
officer?
Well, anybody, really. I mean,
I mean.
if you're going to have a opportunity for others to weigh in, there has to be a forum for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what the BZA was charged with, essentially, is, you know, creating that opportunity for taking in these things into consideration in a context where others could comment.
Gotcha.
But it better be big, you know. Well, but in effect, though, when we say, you know, bigger than you need a permit, we're saying smaller than you don't.
Yeah.
And that was that other part was as the neighbors pointed out, and others as well, that we don't want to be just saying, we don't want to be enabling beyond what's already you know, customary residential activity, commercial activities, or even non-commercial activities of a scale that are potentially disruptive without having to have a permit. That which is below your threshold. My suggestion for doing that was to make it clear that we're not enabling that which is not currently enabled in terms of allowed uses in the zones, except that events that are smaller than the trigger level ought to be in the list of exceptions as being customary residential activity. In other words, in was it 2? Yeah, section 2, you've got ABC. You know, the following are not considered special events. D ought to be any outdoor event, any customary residential event that doesn't meet the criteria for a special event is allowed.
I think I'm following, and I think I agree.
But not in a commercial zone, not, you know, we're not creating a whole new use category for everybody. Or we could delete altogether. That would be the other option, but isn't it implied when you say you need a special event if it's bigger than this, that if it's smaller than that, you don't?
Yes.
I mean, you know, because then
Because it's not triggered.
well, but that was what I was trying to get at, was that, you know, if you, does it have to be that way? In other words, if we're saying, if you want to stage an event that's this big, you need a special event permit. Does it necessarily mean that if it's smaller than that, it's allowed? Because it could not be. In other words, if it exceeds what could be reasonably interpreted by the zoning officer, that's his job, as customary residential activity, then it's a violation of the zoning law to do it. Because the way zoning is structured, it's allowed if it's specifically allowed and it's prohibited otherwise. So we're saying if it's this big, we're going to allow it with a special permit. If it's smaller than that, it may not be allowed.
I mean, I think a simpler way of saying, or another way of saying what you're asking is, if it's above a certain threshold, it requires a permit. If it's below that threshold, it doesn't require a permit. It doesn't mean if it's below that threshold, it's all of a sudden allowed when it wasn't allowed before. We're just defining what needs a permit and what doesn't need a permit. So if it was allowed according to zoning and it's under the threshold, it's allowed. If it wasn't allowed according to zoning and it's under the threshold, it's still not allowed according to zoning.
Right.
Which is why I think
technically.
I think the claims that this is overriding zoning is misunderstanding. I don't think that it is. We're just clarifying for the things that are already allowed, we are adding a requirement that if it's above a threshold, it requires a permit.
But we're not just doing that. That's the thing, is that we're allowing it even where otherwise wouldn't have been allowed.
How? Where?
Well, because we're saying, you know, if you want, in fact, I thought that was,
Customary residential.
I think that was the point of it actually, was to say to Angela or somebody, if you want to have a festival scale event on a property which may not necessarily be yours, we're going to allow that with a special permit, even if it's not an allowed use in zoning. I mean, there is no provision in zoning for large events at all, period. So it's not like you can say, well, wait a minute, take it back. That's not true. There is a provision in zoning to allow for large special events in as much as they are agricultural because of ag and markets guidance regarding what's a agricultural use. So agricultural use is an allowed use in our zoning. Large events included, as long as they meet the criteria as being minimal, sources of income.
Yeah.
Funny.
Less than 30% of your revenue is as a result of the event, even if it's a big one.
Isn't it kind of a question though? Because I understand the concept of in zoning, if it's not specifically allowed, then it's prohibited. I was having this conversation with Ted the other day. And I said, I understand what that means, but I also think it's not quite so obvious. So like, to choose a silly example, it might not be in our zoning that you're allowed to ride a bicycle on your property. That doesn't mean it's prohibited. That means we're assuming it's customary. It means we are decided you don't need to list that you can ride a bicycle on your property in order for it to be allowed. We've assumed that's just customary use of a residential property.
Exactly.
So the question is, if it doesn't say whether you can host a barbecue for all of your neighbors, is that a customary use, or because it doesn't say it, is it prohibited? And I feel like the reason that we needed this is because it's just not obvious whether somebody on a private large piece of property, whether it's a customary use to invite 200 people to come enjoy music on their property or whether it's not. I think that's subjective. So I don't think it's true to say because it's not listed, it was prohibited. I think it's a little more nuanced because you also have to say, were we assuming that was customary or not? And maybe the understanding of what is customary changes over time. It changes as times change, it changes as communities change.
Sure.
And that also I feel like is buried in as part of the nuances here.
I mean, that's what Tyler was asserting early on in their discussions, was that, for him and his background and experience and his family, it was common for him to have large parties where he invited all the neighbors, and they did it for 200 people, and they did it annually. Those of us in Danby that's very, very few of us for whom that's the common experience. For most of us, if somebody had 150 people, that was not customary. But so unfortunately, the one who's in the hot seat here is the planner. You know, because if it was a question, is this, you know, somebody said, this isn't customary, it's up to the planner to say, yeah, I think it is.
Right.
That interpretation could be challenged, you know, and if so, it goes to the BZA and the BZA gets to weigh in on it. You know, and you can even challenge that if you want to, take it to court. But it comes down, interpreting the zoning is the planner's job.
Yeah.
So,
Which is to say, interpreting what is customary.
exactly, yeah. Do you have a question?
10 minutes.
Yeah. Noticing that time marches on.
It's just my job.
Thank
you.
Right. So I wanted language in there somehow clarifying that we were not, just because we said above this threshold, you need a permit, that just because you're under that threshold means you can do it. Anywhere. No, it has to be something that's already permitted in zoning. So customary residential activity is, you know, is a party for 300 of your closest friends, a customary residential activity.
Well,
We've already
We
carved
have
out a bunch, we said
graduation,
graduation
yeah.
parties. Yeah, we're saying, we,
it's okay.
in effect, we said
Yeah.
that we're interpreting these things as customary.
Right.
And so we listed them. Yeah,
Blake is pointing out someone has their hand raised. I
No.
don't think that we should.
we're not really, not really, looking for conversation about this. But we do need to decide where we're going with it. If we can add that clarification, then the trigger level could be really high. But it doesn't mean that if it's under it, it's okay.
I think I need to see what the language is like. It's not feeling clear in my head exactly. I'm following in general, but I don't know.
So it sounds like maybe Leslie and Joel could get together and do a draft.
Thanks.
No, sorry. Well,
I mean,
I'm willing to,
well, I'm sure Greg will want to be. Yeah. Because Greg and Mark and I spent a lot of time putting it together in the first place. And I think Greg created the draft, didn't he?
Yeah.
Pretty much that we worked off of and then
Yeah, I mean,
adjusted.
I picked up the draft that I thought you and he and Guy had a lot of input before I made any changes to it.
Yeah,
that was from Ulysses.
Greg started with something that mimics Ulysses law, yeah.
mm-hmm,
That was.
We looked at that law way back when.
mm-hmm. If this is, you know, a lot of thought has gone into this already.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Indeed.
Well, I move we refer this to a committee of Leslie and me and Greg and Mark.
Sure.
To rework. And we'll hash out what we want to bring forward. But recognizing that what we have is not what we want to propose.
I'll second.
Sorry, so the motion was to refer the law and related to maybe Leslie, Greg, and Mariah, and you, and Joel. There we go.
To rework it.
Greg, Mariah, Joel. Perfect. Oh, Three's Company.
This is true, but it's mostly gonna happen probably in email back and forth, and not in a physical meeting. So it'll be intra-agency communications.
I would recommend double checking with Guy on all those things, because
Mhm.
there are.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah.
Like it's referring it to a committee. The committees happen to have a quorum of us board members on it.
There are some going on.
Mhm.
Implications there.
I had a pretty clear conversation with him where he said that that's intra-agency. He said,
Yeah.
3 board members talking about a draft of a law that's not ready to come up.
Ideas,
It-
not making a
it's
decision.
Not,
Yeah.
not subject to open meeting law, I can forward it.
Yes, really appreciate it.
It's a whole new way of thinking.
Yes, it's true.
I have trouble wrapping my brain.
I know, I mean, it's not what we were taught
No.
back, a ways back, but hell, I'm willing to go with it.
I'm all right with it.
Okay, ready?
Okay,
All right, Connor,
all right.
Dylan, yes, Bruce,
Yep.
yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, did you, Mark, have a chance to read the TCNS stuff?
Yeah, we can talk about it for a while, actually.
Do you want to report?
Can I ask you to report? Yeah, why don't?
Is this
I
the
think
P-
Blake knows what.
TCNS?
TCNS. Yeah, about, what, it was over a month ago, right? They made recommendations for
Yeah,
upgrades and updates.
Yes,
yeah, but we were in such danger.
well, no, there actually are some serious steps.
Yeah.
Risks and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit concerned, why we don't pay so much to consult them on these kinds of matters, because it is really important. More and more New York State agencies of all sizes, towns our size, towns the size of, probably the Merrimack in Westchester County can be attacked overnight,
Mm-hmm.
had website spam happen, which was not, the same kind of thing. But these things do happen, and it is a serious misstep, in my opinion, to overlook those kinds of concerns, because, as the adage goes, ounce of prevention, pound of cure.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, there are things to do when it gets bad, but you want to put yourself in the best position where things won't get bad in the first place. So to that effect, they have come up with several recommendations. Chiefly of note, our existing server is out of date. They have recommended either updating or if we were to upgrade the physical server, it would cost numbers. I believe they quoted somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 to 18,000 for that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So upgrading the physical, yeah, I saw your eyes, yeah. Updating the physical server would be in the neighborhood of 13 to 18,000.
Oh, 13 to 18, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Why it's so expensive? I mean, it's just a computer, right?
It is not just-
18,000.
It is servers are vastly more complex than just a standard computer.
Mhm. But one heck of a computer for 13,000.
Yes, yeah, and especially because we have, like globally, there is a RAM shortage. This is like the worst time to be buying a server, which is, run not entirely on RAM, but like I'd say major component of it. There are, it is incredibly expensive. There is also the option to transition to a serverless capacity, which is much more reasonable with licensing. It comes to around 20 or 25 to 20 or 2,500 to 3,500, depending on the exact specifications. The issue and reason why this is so relevant right now is because, I'm trying to make sure that I'm speaking into the microphone, but also looking at you guys. Because the server is currently out of date and out of compliance, it is running Windows 10 and it is also unlicensed, not good. It needs to be put into compliance. That is just like a standard thing. We use other Microsoft products. It is a serious issue. Now, in terms of what that looks like, kind of up to you. Their recommendation was a serverless transition, which can be implemented in a couple of phases that I laid out in that document.
Basically putting everything in the cloud.
Essentially, yes, yeah.
Okay, I move that we go to 8:30.
I second that. We actually had a couple more minutes to do that, but it's okay.
I have 15 seconds.
Better early than late.
But that's okay.
All right, any other discussion? Yes. All right, Connors?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Canyon?
Yes.
All right.
So the serverless option, would be a cloud option.
Yeah, essentially.
And that, based on our conversation, that's what I thought we should do. I feel like having a physical server in the office doesn't seem necessary and feels like, I mean, I'm not an IT professional, but it feels like a little bit of a bygone era now that everything can easily be done through the cloud.
Yeah, and I had a couple of security related questions that were well addressed by Todd, which I really appreciated. And I asked him for more details about the exact specifics. That little 2-page memo that I put together was just a
Summary.
brief advisory summary of like, here's what that might look like, pros and cons of each. Yes, and then the other, and the main thing is that these kinds of transitions are something that can be budgeted for to be implemented in the new year. But it is the kind of thing that we need to address now, not when the server fails. Because that is always a potential. Especially given that the hardware is also pretty old. Which, you know, in computer years is something like 8 years old. That island is actually quite old. Like, what? That feels like just yesterday, but no, that's quite old.
Mine's on its in the 11th year.
Yeah, it's been a while. The other recommendation you made chiefly were sorry, my brain is not working.
Updating the 2 PCs.
Yeah, yes. The one that we use here and then the one over at Highway. The one at Highway definitely, I would suggest based on the recommendations, needs to be replaced because it is still running Windows 10, again, unlicensed. We have 3 PCs that are running unlicensed Windows 10, not good. We need the end of life support really, so that way if there is any kind of like data breach or rather, it is in advance of any kind of data breach, basically. Because when
So we could buy a little time.
yes, yeah. So
I mean, does that fit into, I mean, their whole plan about upgrading and making sure our equipment is up to snuff? Is this something, or is this something new?
Well,
This is that.
yeah.
Huh?
This is that. This is their plan to update. This is the same as what you're saying.
When they came in and offered their services to us, they had a plan.
Oh, okay, this was before my time. I don't think I saw this.
I mean,
I think every year, every 6 months, they update that plan.
yeah, well, that we can't live with.
But I think what you're alluding to is the scope of services that's in the contract.
Right.
And there were assurances made that were inconsistent with the contract at the time that we went with TCNS. And I was told by several people that who are no longer on the board, just sign the contract because we need it. And even though it says one thing, that they're not what they're going to do. But it's they're doing exactly what they said they would do in the contract, which is to say that all these things are extras. Now, providing the plan and doing a review, that's included in the contract. But the hardware updates and all that stuff, that's all additional expense.
But when they came in, they were like, this is the equipment that needs to get replaced. This person
was
needs
true
a
at the
new,
time.
I mean, so.
That changes every year because computers get older every
Yeah,
year.
right.
Like one of the parts, you know, that I was as skeptical as you until I spent an hour with Blake talking about this in detail. Like, for example, the PCs that are outdated, at some point, Windows came out with 11 and then they stopped supporting 10 on older machines. There's nothing that TCNS could do to change that. That's just the way of the world and the way of technology.
Right.
So what they're saying is it's not safe for you to use software that's not being maintained and I feel like there's another word.
Licensed.
Supported, thank you, by Microsoft. And so there's nothing they could have told us back then that would have made this not true. This is just like, they're not the ones implementing it. They're making recommendations based on what Microsoft is doing. And it is frustrating that big companies like that don't continue to maintain
Yeah.
like software for older machines.
Yeah,
But that's not
and-
really TCNS's fault.
Right,
My recommendation based on our conversation was to replace the highway PC
mhm.
with a new one that could take Windows 11, but not replace this one and pay for this one to continue operating Windows 10, because that felt like a pretty low security risk. Because
Yeah.
this doesn't, people aren't using this and downloading files and.
Yeah, we're not doing anything but
We
running
just use
Zoom meetings,
this.
yeah.
So I feel like if this is working for us, we could pay to keep using what you said, $85 or something relatively small.
Because we owe the time that the license would lapse, but yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like.
But for something that Keith is using every single day and it's a lot more subject to risk and viruses and malware attacks, that we should probably keep at the highest level of, you
Yes.
know,
And,
modern
you know,
security.
It only buys us till the end of the year, right?
Mhm.
So that only buys us till the end of the year,
It buys us another year from October, I believe.
which is, okay,
So, yes.
not even till the end of the year.
No, if we buy in now, we will be.
Covered for the next 2 months.
This upcoming October, the next, I believe. It might be on January's schedule. I'm happy to talk to Tal specifically about that.
Yeah.
Either way. The cost is, you know, $85 roughly today to ensure that that is secure.
But I'm, you know, in as much as that we're already in July, the fact that we haven't had a problem since last October, it seems funny to be paying for that last October to now. You know, but I don't know. What I don't know is how long, what it bought you. If we had done this in October, what would it have bought us? I think there's an endpoint to that additional support.
2 years.
2
years.
2 years? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, then we'd be good too, for another year and a quarter. Or,
Yeah, I think that's what Blake was saying.
Yeah.
And which
If it's 2 years, then yeah, why not? Yeah.
the recommendation at that point would probably be to replace it. It is kind of, you know, kick the can.
Yes.
solution,
Right.
but
Well, it is,
that-
but
I think it's okay to kick this can, but not the highway.
Yes, that is the chief, like, that is the #1 recommendation, that in terms of things to prioritize. Knowing that the server does need to be replaced, and the transition to serverless is their recommendation for both budget and like ease of access purposes. And I have plenty of security questions that I asked, and I'm sure they're happy to talk to any one of you who is specifically concerned about something or another, or who wants to set a meeting. But then this computer in theory, stay with the end of life support, and then the highway one, because, you know, one of the things that we go over in that little quarterly meeting is, you know, who clicks on the phishing links?
mhm.
And I'm not pointing fingers, but yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of phishing, or a lot of people clicking on links, because that's one of the things that TCNS does, is they do simulated phishing attacks.
Yes.
And if you click on a phishing link, you get signed up for a little training. If you don't do that
I
training.
just want to point out, I tried to report one of them, and for some reason it triggered it as I clicked on the phishing link, and they made me do the test, and I wrote an email, and I'm like, I did not click on the phishing link. I clicked on the report phishing, and for some reason it misfigured it. So if I was on your list,
That's the
that
same
was
thing.
not my fault.
That's the same thing that happened to me.
Did it really?
There was a bug, I think, for
Yeah.
a little bit. I clicked the report phishing button.
I waited till the last day.
Well,
Okay, so I'm hearing, and I support also replacing the highway
How much is
computer
there?
ASAP.
They, again, to quote a specific replacement would require, because again, computer prices are changing literally by the day. Rough estimate is between 1,500 and 1,800 for replacing the highway AC. That's the kind of thing that I would foresee doing imminently.
Right.
Based on
1,800.
budgetary constraints. In terms of server transition, I believe that's something that I asked TCNS, because I was like, so budget season is coming up. Is that something that we could expend more?
We could buy the support for the server too, couldn't we?
Yes, yeah.
And that'll get us to, well, it would give us an extra year if we wanted to take that long to decide to transition to the cloud.
Yes, yeah,
Or we could budget for January first.
yeah. And one other thing that they mentioned that they would be willing to do would be to, basically put in the order now and invoice later. When that money, you know, is available in January, basically, when like allocate funding for it as part of the budgeting process for the upcoming year. And then, use that funding at that point. Kind of like a credit card kind of thing. You know, they are willing to extend that kind of good faith of, you know, when you're good for it, so make your allocations accordingly, and then come January, we'll add the payment. You know, if that is the kind of thing that we want to get started on sooner rather than later, that would be a possibility. I'm not sure exactly the timeframe on that, but that was something that was mentioned to me that I was like, all right, that is something that, you know, because we're not pulling money out in the interview, it's something that you would probably want to budget for in, you know, next year's budget. And if that is the case, if that is desired, then that is one way to make that happen. It's also possible that you guys can just pull money from somewhere, at which point, you know.
Well, we could, but if we, you know, but not if somebody wanted to do it unless we have to.
Yes, yeah.
So I did have a question, and I should have asked Ted ahead of time, where we stand with the IT budget as far as how much money is left in there for the year anyway.
I believe last I saw, which was a couple weeks ago, we were like pretty much exactly halfway. We're about halfway as of a couple of weeks ago. I think we erred on the side of like 47% at that point, which is taking us, as it stands, pretty much cleanly to the top of the budget. I believe there will be enough wiggle room for, you know, the end of life support. I don't know if there will be enough for the whole serverless transition, depending on what exactly it would be quoted at.
I don't sense any urgency in making the transition.
Yeah, I mean.
So we can do it in January? Is that what we're?
That's what I'm thinking. We could do it in January. We actually could do it. There's not much point in waiting till that following October, is there?
I mean, any amount of waiting increases risk, and not following the recommendations of the people we pay increases risk. And I'm actually feeling like on the other side, I don't really know why we would wait. If it's the same now or the same later, we could.
I mean, is it
budget for
prorated? I mean, is it prorated or is it gonna, you know, how much,
Well, I mean, some of this is just a hard cost. It's like buying something.
right, buying the computer.
Right,
With
buying
this
the
other-
computer and the server thing are all hard costs. There's not prorated.
But we're not talking about buying the
Not
server.
getting a server.
We're talking about
Well,
buying the server.
serverless just means there isn't a server that we are paying for that
Right.
is physically here.
Right.
It's still a server. It's just a server somewhere in a
In the
data center or
Yes.
something like it.
Yes.
So I don't think we could wait, but I think there's an increased risk of not following what they say, and we're not gonna save money by waiting. I don't know. I don't.
I mean,
know
so
why.
if
But what's
we
the risk of-
do it now, is it
They're
gonna,
pointing to now is
what's
that
the
we're,
charge for, you know, replacing the, you know, it's between, they're so specific, it's between 2,500 and 3,500.
Yeah, depending on the exact specifications, which aren't listed in this, because this is a one-page memo.
Why
This
not?
isn't, you know, a direct quote, this is just giving estimations of what would generally be required.
Why wouldn't they know what would be required? I mean,
Well, they do, but if we say we want to know next week, they can give you a hard number.
Can the result of this conversation be that we direct you to tell them, okay, we want to go with serverless, we want to update, and we don't have to, this is what I'm suggesting.
Mhm.
We want to update the highway computer. We don't want to update the Zoom computer, we want to pay for the extended Windows 10 coverage. Can they come back to us or you with, okay, this is the specific recommendation and the specific amount, and then we can approve that?
Or here's what it'll cost you to do what you just.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What I want to know is
Okay.
what is the risk associated with retaining the server as opposed to going to the cloud? If we buy the extended, you know, the Windows 10 support. I mean, what risk, is there any new risk associated with it? I mean, if we buy the support for the server.
Well, the way that you put it in the email, and maybe I'm misreading it, They suggested that extra $85 if we wanted to continue using this computer or the highway computer. They were not offering that option for the server that's in the clerk's room.
Why not?
I have to double check because I'm pretty sure. Don't remember whether server licensing is paid for differently, whether it's on a different schedule, whether the support is the same or different. I believe it is its own separate kind of thing, so I don't remember what the number is on that. Based on the conversation I had, it is currently unlicensed. That's what I know.
Well, I mean, the Windows 10's extended support presumes licensing, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean support.
I think it's a good idea to let's get it, get it in writing,
Well, sure, but what are we getting right? I mean, my question had to do simply with, we're
going
pointing
serverless
to,
and getting a new computer.
what was the risk that was being pointed to with the server? Was it because it's running Windows 10 and consequently there's some vulnerabilities there that we can address by buying extended support? In which case it's less compelling to make the transition to the cloud now, as opposed to.
I think the extended support does not close security vulnerabilities that are related with using out-of-date software. Their support can't magically make out-of-date software more secure. I think they're saying.
Isn't that where the updates are going?
But out-of-date software, they stop pushing updates. I think that the reason that they are recommending that we stop using that server is because they're not pushing security updates to Windows 10.
Who is it? Microsoft?
Microsoft isn't. That's what it means to put an end of life to an operating system like that. So I think that.
Yeah, but then what are you buying with the extended support?
I'm actually not sure about that, but I think that what Blake explained to me is that it is actually illegal to run an unlicensed software. So the end of life support is, okay, fine, you're licensed for an extra year to continue using Windows 10. So the fact that it's out of date is kind of separate from the fact that it's also unlicensed. And that,
Right.
I mean, we can't use unlicensed software.
Yeah, but we can license it, right?
We can license it.
We can license it.
$85.
We can license it and get additional and get updates, essentially. I mean, they're security updates in effect, aren't they? When isn't that what you're buying with the additional support?
I believe it is actually. I believe it is support is an ongoing, because, software comes out of date, bugs can happen, people can find security vulnerabilities, and just like life support is putting up a blocker there. That is something that I have since more or little bit. Yeah.
Pardon me, a quick question. There is a difference between unlicensed software and out of support software. They're not the same thing.
Right, well,
That's what I just
that's what Mark just said. So I mean, it needs to be both licensed and supported.
Yes.
Yes, and the
Yes,
$85.
you can keep using unlicensed,
just-
unsupported software.
It's just.
What?
You can keep using unsupported software.
Well, yes, and that's what we've been doing, but having been unlicensed is more problematic.
We got 10 minutes left.
Yeah, the last piece of the recommendation was that they were recommending that we do this identity threat detection response software. That actually, based on our conversation, I don't think we should do that. Feels like an upsell. It sounds like they were saying our cybersecurity insurance may one day require it, but it's not required now, and it doesn't feel like it adds that much.
So to speak to that, yeah, I don't think it is necessary at this point in time. It is good to have at some point. It is quite expensive. I don't think it is necessary at this point. They did want me to be aware that they are seeing more and more cybersecurity insurance firms requiring that as a contractual thing for the people going forward. But we can, burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've,
Okay.
yeah, their main recommendations are replacing high latency.
Yeah, we're okay with that.
And then I'm happy to go back to them and say, pushing to serverless versus making sure that we're staying up to date with our Windows 10 for the server that we have right now. And costs there and benefits there and all that good stuff.
Maybe we just need additional information before we
Well, it
deal
sounds like
with the
there's
server?
two things. It's what will be the cost of the server list? And it sounds like Joel is asking, what are the risks if we chose to purchase end of life support for Windows 10 for our server?
As well as, and what about the licensing issue? I mean, we,
End of life support is the licensing.
does it include licensing, you're saying?
I think that's what it is. Yes, it is end of support licensing, maybe not.
It's not, it's licensing, but without support, without the software, support for the, essentially the security.
Yes. When things are, end of life, they don't receive any support going forwards. So,
Yeah, but buying the extension, essentially, my understanding was essentially continued the same degree of protection for a limited time to give you an opportunity to transition to something else for a set price. But my understanding was that it was like continuing what you had for a couple more years.
I'm not very sure to what extent it is the same. I would imagine it is largely the same. I am not exactly sure.
So maybe you can clarify that?
Can we get clarity on that? Because
Like get clarification.
Yeah.
Yes.
in the meantime, I move that we authorize replacing the highway computer.
This is Keith's computer?
Yeah,
I'll second that.
gonna add on maybe buying support for this creature.
Yeah.
What?
Just added on the buying the extended support for this computer too.
Oh, I'll agree with that.
For the Zoom computer?
Yeah, you could call it that. That's all we use it for.
Yeah.
All right,
Ready?
Connors.
I'm gonna abstain.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
I'm abstaining.
Because it's TCNS, that's why.
Oh. All right,
These last two things in 8 minutes.
yeah, we'll see how we do here. The Association of Towns has added a new get together beyond the annual meeting to deal specifically with legislative initiatives.
Yeah, that's,
Hmm?
I don't know.
It's a whole new thing. They have recommended, because I was in we have the supervisors, monthly Zoom thing with the AOT leadership too. They recommended that we, and register is the wrong word. And I can't remember what the right word is.
Attend.
Well, I mean, they like us to attend, but they want you to basically register, but not for the, you don't have to attend in order they want you to name a delegate,
Right,
even if you're not going to go.
right.
Oh. Well,
Um,
are you planning?
And let them know, so, am I planning on going? No. Does anybody else want to go?
I always like going to those things.
Yeah,
I think
it's in Albany. Yeah,
I don't know anything about it. It's in Albany.
it's in Albany.
I can't commit to that at the moment. I need to think about
I mean, what it is to focus on their legislative priorities. And then, instead of having I think it's going to be instead of having the bunch of resolutions that occurs at the annual meeting, with regard to their legislative priorities, it will happen at this event instead.
I would agree to go. I think it saves money to have a share room. However, if you or Zach or Joel wanna, I would,
Yeah, at the moment, I don't, or I'm not sure that I will be able to.
okay. I mean, it's just meeting with all those people who know
Yeah, right,
stuff.
right. Great networking opportunity,
Well, yeah.
but also.
Must be a lot of training.
But it also, well, it's not going to be all that training stuff. It's going to be focused on the legislative agenda.
Well, that's not what we advertise, the
Yeah,
blurb said something different.
but anyway, you can, like if there was considerable information about it in that last
Right.
monthly issue of the, what do they call it, NIOD News.
Yeah. Well, you could sign us up, and if somebody else wants to go, they'll just,
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I move that we designate, who's gonna be primary?
She.
Okay, Leslie as our delegate and Mariah as our alternate
hope there's.
to that September 12th NIOT Legislative Conference.
Okay.
So I second that.
Okay, pro housing. we
Oh,
have five
second, I
minutes.
second that.
Oh,
Yeah,
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 Right, Connors.
yeah.
Dillon.
yeah.
Bruce.
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have to do
The pro-housing community declaration.
Haven't we done that recently?
I didn't remember us doing it.
I think
I
we
remember doing that.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay, well, then we don't
we
have it.
can do it again.
We needn't do it again if we've done it before. I
Let's
just
do
didn't
it
remember,
again. Let's hurry up and do it.
but I didn't
Yeah.
remember us having done it.
I'll look it up and tell you when, but go ahead.
Speak.
Just gonna say, there's the April proclamation of Fair Housing Month, which might be.
No, that's different, yeah.
I'd like to move that we pass the pro housing community declaration.
I'll second that. Very good.
Okay. No discussion?
Looks good to me.
All right, Connors.
Yes,
Dillon.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
All right.
And so, would you agree, Mark, that a form summary is perhaps something that could be,
Oh, yeah, we can wait, it's okay.
what's that?
The
The
forum summary.
we added to
summary
the,
point.
we added to the agenda that,
Yeah,
well, if you want to add more time, we can have Mark talk
no,
about
that's
it.
okay.
I mean, I can give you a 2-minute summary. It was a really interesting conversation. It was pretty well attended, I thought, especially considering,
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
the air quality issues and grassroots.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had about 25 to 30 people in here, give or
Cool.
take. We talked about a variety of topics according to what people sort of threw out there with the sticky notes. We talked about Jennings Pond, and there were sort of a number of ideas about how we could improve that. And I did suggest that the town could maybe take a role in interfacing between Mary.
Miriam.
Kozak.
Mary and Kozak.
And the state, and maybe we can organize some kind of a volunteer work day. Gene Sapansky was interested in helping, clear that up a little bit. We talked about parks and Dotson Park. Someone raised, that the town could really use some more, the kids in the town could use some place to play basketball or baseball, and then maybe we should make that sort of a priority if we're going to do anything with parks. We talked a bit about public transportation, even though that's mostly a county issue, but it did come up. And then at the end, we talked about small businesses and how the town can support small businesses. One idea came up is that we'll explore maybe putting a local directory, a local business directory on the town website. There's some laws about that, but we can maybe explore them and see what we can do.
We can't put them on without their permission, but we can, we're even-handed
I
about
think
it.
Blake, indicated that he could research what the laws are and what we can do just to help drive some traffic maybe to some of our local businesses. And there were other topics that came up, housing, sidewalks, a few other ones, but we didn't really dive into them. But it felt overall good to me. Do not tell me I'm over time. It felt overall like a good event, and there was interest in another one. What I put in the newsletter is that I don't really want to do one in August, but maybe we can pick a regular cadence to start up in September.
I have to say it was well run.
Oh, thank you.
Very well.
Positive feedback on how it was done. You have a question? Or?
No, I have not full comment for myself.
Yeah.
Things that were said at the meeting. One, had a great time, awesome, very cool. Two, the school on Gunterman came up.
Oh, yeah.
That was.
There was quite a bit on that one, it's true.
Yeah, it seems likely that the ICSD board meeting on August 11th, they're going to talk about surplus properties, including the Danby School. And there's some interest on the board to actually move some of those off the books. I don't know whether that's going to happen, but they're at least probably going to have it on the agenda for that meeting.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to attend and, follow
Yeah.
the topic.
There was one other item on the agenda, which is the West Danby Cemetery thing.
I'll attend.
But I think that, Leslie and Mariah both are interested in attending the special meeting of the Cemetery Association.
Yeah.
And that's terrific. I don't think you need to be delegated, you just.
Thank you.
Okay.
And with that, we have completed the agenda and run out of time, so, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody.
Thank you for these. These are, there's something, they remind me of the gingerbread.
Yeah.
Christmas gingerbread.
Yeah.